The crowd is still roaring in the California desert. The champion is smiling through pure disbelief. And the moment feels bigger than tennis, because something unforgettable just happened for Aryna Sabalenka. A trophy, a new puppy, an engagement ring, and a revenge victory all in 1 week. Yes, you heard that right. And by the end of this video, you will understand why this might be one of the most emotional and meaningful weeks in the career of the World No.1, because what happened after the final at the BNP Paribas Open was not just a champion speech. It was a moment that revealed a completely different side of Sabalenka, and the reaction from her soon-to-be mother-in-law made the story even more powerful. So, here is the question I want you thinking about while we go through this story. Did this moment show that Sabalenka is entering the best phase of her career both on and off the court? Let us rewind to the final itself. Across the net stood one of the toughest opponents in modern tennis, Elena Rybakina, a player who has developed one of the most fascinating rivalries with Sabalenka over the past few seasons. These two players bring power, intensity, and big match drama every time they meet, and this final carried extra meaning because just weeks earlier Rybakina had beaten Sabalenka in the Australian Open final. That loss stayed in the mind of the Belarusian champion not as anger, but as motivation. When elite athletes talk about revenge matches, they rarely admit it openly. But every tennis fan understands the feeling, the chance to face the same opponent again, the chance to rewrite the ending, and that is exactly what Sabalenka did at Indian Wells. From the first games of the match, you could sense something different in her energy. Her power was controlled, her focus was sharp, and her body language showed confidence. Rybakina pushed her as always, because that is what great rivals do, but this time Sabalenka stayed calm during the key moments, and when the final point was won, the celebration felt different. Not just relief, not just victory, it felt personal, because behind the scenes something huge had already happened during that week. Sabalenka had just gotten engaged to her partner Georgios Frangulis. Now, if you follow tennis closely, you probably already noticed Frangulis sitting in her player box during many tournaments. He is a Brazilian entrepreneur and the founder connected to the well-known acai brand Oakberry. Over the past year, fans started noticing him more and more at events, traveling with Sabalenka, supporting her from the stands, celebrating victories, and slowly their relationship became one of the most talked about personal stories on the tour. But during Indian Wells, the relationship reached a completely new chapter. They got engaged, yes, right in the middle of one of the biggest tournaments of the season. And if that was not enough for 1 week of life-changing events, Sabalenka also adopted a new puppy. So imagine the emotional roller coaster training for one of the biggest tournaments in tennis. Planning life changes, getting engaged, welcoming a new puppy, and still performing like the best player in the world. When the final ended and Sabalenka stepped forward to speak to the crowd, many fans expected the usual champion speech: thank the team, praise the opponent, celebrate the trophy. But Sabalenka delivered something much more genuine. She smiled, she laughed, and she looked at the crowd with a mix of happiness and disbelief. And then she said something that immediately spread across tennis social media. She thanked her fiancé, held up her hand showing the engagement ring, and she said that this week was unforgettable: getting a puppy, getting engaged, winning a title. Moments she said she would remember for the rest of her life. It was simple, it was honest, and it felt real. Sometimes sports fans forget that behind every champion is a human life full of relationships, emotions, and personal milestones. This speech reminded everyone of that, but the story did not end on the court, because shortly after the speech another reaction appeared online that caught the attention of tennis fans. The mother of Georgios Frangulis, Helena Rybakina, shared the video of Sabalenka's speech, and her message was incredibly warm. She wrote that the family would remember the moment forever, together with you. For many fans, this small social media post showed something very meaningful: acceptance, support, and the sense that Sabalenka is truly becoming part of the family. If you follow professional sports, you know how challenging relationships can be: constant travel, pressure, expectations, public attention. It is not easy, but the way Frangulis family speaks about Sabalenka suggests something very positive. In fact, there was another message shared recently that fans loved. Helena Rybakina posted a montage video of the couple, and her caption was playful but heartfelt. She joked that some families fight a lot, but their family is about puppies, and that Aryna is definitely part of the family. That line alone tells you a lot about the environment around Sabalenka right now: supportive, warm, happy, and many tennis fans believe that kind of stability off the court can translate into even better performances on the court. We have seen it many times in sports: when athletes feel emotionally balanced, their confidence often grows, their focus improves, and their performance can reach new heights. So, here is an interesting thought: is Sabalenka entering the most powerful stage of her career? Let us break that down. She already has the power game that terrifies opponents. Her serve is explosive, her ground strokes can dominate rallies, and in the last few seasons, she has improved her mental strength dramatically. Earlier in her career, critics often questioned her consistency, too many double faults, too many emotional swings, but the modern version of Sabalenka looks different, more mature, more composed, more confident now, at a stable personal life, a supportive partner traveling with her family welcoming her, and suddenly the picture becomes even stronger. But here is where things get interesting for tennis fans, because the rivalry with Elena Rybakina is also heating up at the same time. Every great era of tennis is defined by rivalries. Think about the historic battles that shaped the sport, different styles, different personalities. High-stakes final Sabalenka versus Rybakina has the ingredients to become one of those rivalries, power versus power, calm versus intensity, and matches that feel unpredictable. The Australian Open final showed Rybakina at her best, but the Indian Wells final showed Sabalenka responding like a champion, which raises a big question for the rest of the season: who will win the next chapter? Because something tells me this story is far from finished. And here is another interesting angle that some fans are discussing online. Sabalenka is also connected professionally to Frangulis business. She became an ambassador for the Oakberry brand and even launched her own signature bowl with the company. That means their relationship connects both personal life and professional partnerships. Now, some people see that as smart collaboration, others simply see it as a couple supporting each other's careers. Either way, it adds another unique layer to the Sabalenka story: a champion athlete, a global brand partnership, and a relationship that seems to be growing stronger. But let me say something important here, because we always want to stay fair and responsible when discussing tennis news. Everything we are talking about is based on public information and social media posts. There are always rumors floating around in sports media, but unless something is confirmed, we treat it as speculation. Right now, what we know for sure is simple: Sabalenka won Indian Wells. She announced her engagement, and the family reaction online was extremely supportive. Everything else is just fans discussing possibilities, and that is part of what makes sports stories so fascinating. They mix competition with human life, and sometimes the emotional moments become just as memorable as the matches. Now, let me ask you something directly. When Sabalenka held up that engagement ring during her speech, did you feel that moment was genuine? Because for me, it felt like one of those rare sports moments where the athlete forgets the cameras and simply shares happiness. No marketing, no script, just pure emotion. And maybe that is why the video spread so quickly. Fans love authenticity. They connect with it. They remember it. Now, imagine the next few months on the tennis tour: Grand Slams coming, more big finals possible, more matches against Rybakina or other top players, and Sabalenka entering every tournament with the confidence of a champion and the happiness of a newly engaged woman. That combination could be dangerous for her opponents, very dangerous, because when a player already ranked #1 starts playing with freedom and joy, their level can become almost unstoppable. But we will see. Tennis always surprises us. Rivals rise, upsets happen, momentum changes. That is the beauty of the sport. Still, one thing is certain: the Indian Wells week of Aryna Sabalenka will be remembered for a long time, not only for the trophy but for the story around Ida, revenge, victory, and engagement. A new puppy, a heartfelt speech, and a message from a future family member that touched fans around the world. So, now I want to hear your opinion, because this community always has strong tennis knowledge. Do you think Sabalenka and Rybakina are becoming the next great rivalry in women tennis, or do you believe another player will step into that story soon? And one more question: do you think Sabalenka personal happiness right now will make her even more dominant on the court this season? Let me know your thou